The 13 original Transformers are 13 fictional characters in the Transformers toy and entertainment franchise created by Hasbro. They are usually portrayed as the first 13 living beings created by Primus, the creator of the Transformers and their home planet of Cybertron. In the live-action Transformers film trilogy, their backstory is slightly modified, with there only being 7 members who were created by the Allspark. The story concept of the 13, as well as 3 of their members, were created by comic book writer Simon Furman. All of the 13 have been revealed by Hasbro. Concept and creation: it was originally revealed in the Botkin story Covenant that before going on to create the Transformer race, Primus experimented with a group of 12 robots known as the Covenant of Primus. Based on the Zodiac, these 12 robots were Leonicus, Ares, Pisca, Libras, Scorpius, Equator, Taurotron, Cancix, Geminator, Sagittaria, Virgo and Capricorn. They existed in secret, training for the Omega Point. The Omega Point was a potential event that Unicron would attack at a point that there was no prime. After the Omega Point, time was reverted and the instance never happened. Publication history: in 2004, it was revealed in the Ultimate Guide that Primus later created a group of 13 Transformers, each with special powers, to fight against Unicron. This is the basic, communal origin for Cybertron and the Transformers across many continuities. Although the 2009 movie has the Fallen as the main villain, it does not seem to follow the Primus creation story. Like Primus and Unicron, each of the 13 are multiversal singularities, one entity throughout reality. During their first big battle against Unicron, many of the 13 were killed and the Fallen was drawn into a black hole, where he remained trapped in a lower dimensional level. Alternately, in Revenge of the Fallen, the original Transformers formed the Dynasty of Primes, scattering throughout the galaxy looking for planets where they could build sun harvesters. They debuted in IDW Publishing's comics when they published Transformers: Destiny, a prequel comic to the film. In the Exodus, Exiles and Retribution novel trilogy, the following of the 13 were mentioned: Prima, the Liege Maximo, Megatronus Prime, Solus Prime, Nexus Prime, and Amalgamus Prime. Over a decade after their introduction, the Covenant of Primus would shed further light on the concept of the 13 by introducing all 13 members. Fictional team history: Primus creation story. According to Transformers lore, before the dawn of time, order and chaos existed within an extra-dimensional entity known as the One. To explore the fledgling universe, he created the astral being known as Unicron, and then subdivided him, creating his twin, Primus. Both brothers were multiversal singularities, unique in all realities, but whereas Unicron could only exist in one universe at a time, moving between them at will, Primus existed simultaneously in all realities at once. It is suggested, in fact, that the two brothers embody the basic concepts of reality good and evil, order and chaos and that their continued existence is necessary for the stability of the multiverse. As Unicron and Primus ventured through the cosmos, it became apparent to Primus that Unicron was a corrupt being, and then confronted the threat his sibling posed. In combat, Primus was no match for Unicron. In cunning, however, he proved himself to be his brother's superior when he shifted their battle to the astral plane, and then back to the physical world once more, sacrificing most of his strength to manifest their essences within metallic planetoids, leaving them both trapped. It was with this act of sacrifice that Primus hoped to contain the evil force forever. Unfortunately, over time, Unicron learned to physically shape his prison into a giant metallic planet, and Primus followed suit, becoming the mechanical world of Cybertron. When Unicron then learned to transform his planetary form even further, into a gigantic robot form, Primus could also, but adapted the idea, and created the 13, a group of robotic beings that possessed the ability to change shape, like Unicron. The war between Unicron and Primus came to its seeming end during a climactic battle in which one of the 13, Megatronus Prime, who would forever afterwards be known as the Fallen, betrayed Primus and became an acolyte of Unicron. The battle ended when the Fallen and Unicron were sucked into a black hole and disappeared from reality. With Unicron gone for now, Primus entered an eons-long slumber, preventing Unicron from detecting him through the mental link the brothers shared. Alpha Trion recounts the creation of the 13 by Primus prior to his entering a state of slumber. Created to battle the evil Unicron, the 13 spent a considerable amount of time preparing for conflict with him. They succeeded in defeating him, but were stained with touches of his evil that later led to division. Following Solus Prime's murder at the hands of Megatronus, known from that time on as the Fallen, the group fractured, its members scattering. Prima, Alpha Trion, and Alchemist Prime were known to have remained on Cybertron, where they watched over the emerging Cybertronian race while dealing with threats like that posed by the original Predaking. Alpha Trion was the only one still remaining on Cybertron. The matrix of leadership was once the jewel in the hilt of Prima's Star Saber, and Sentinel Prime once bore the sigil of Vector Prime. Optimus meets with a holographic representation of Solus Prime, before meeting with Vector Prime in a pocket dimension created by said Prime, and later encounters Nexus Prime, who briefly gives him the Cyber Caliber so that he can battle Megatron's forces, who had come to briefly possess the Requiem Blaster. Alpha Trion's chronicles in the Covenant are interspersed throughout the novel, detailing events occurring on Cybertron since the departure of Optimus and Megatron into deep space as they search for the Allspark. He is also responsible for Nexus Prime's brief reappearance, sending one of his component bodies, an Autobot named Chain Drive, to meet with a number of others who then recombine into Nexus. After aiding the Autobots in battle, Nexus Prime takes back the Cyber Caliber and breaks back into his various components, Cannon Spring, Chain Drive, Clocker, Mainspring, and Pinion. The five then scatter across space. Retellings and revisions. The Primus Unicron backstory has evolved and been rewritten a number of times since it first originated in the Marvel comic series. The version recounted above is the current iteration, which has slowly solidified across a wide swathe media. Before the Primus Unicron mythos reached its present form, it went through several distinct versions in the Marvel Generation 1 comics and elsewhere. IDW Publishing would introduce two alternate versions of the story of the 13 Primes. The first was introduced in the Revenge of the Fallen comics, which shows the original Transformers forming the Dynasty of Primes, beings that were created eons ago by the Allspark. These 13 beings were the first Cybertronians and had the ability to move between dimensions. They soon realized that the Allspark's power, though vast, was not infinite, and required the energy of stars to be replenished. Once a nearby star went nova, the Allspark created a worker race, the Transformers, who would assist the Dynasty in replenishing the Allspark. One of the 13, later known as the Fallen, believed the Allspark was talking to him and that it wanted him to harvest any sun, local lifeforms or no local lifeforms, rather than spend ages searching. He harvested the sun of a living world behind his brothers' backs, only to be caught and told off. This didn't stop him, and eventually, the Dynasty ruled that all 7 of them would decide on the harvester's use. In response, the Fallen assembled his own army, the Decepticons, and deliberately built a harvester on Earth in order to draw his brothers into a trap. These sun harvesters, powered by the matrix of leadership, were capable of harvesting a sun's energy to produce energon. A great battle erupted as the Fallen fought to gain the Allspark's power for himself. However, once he had destroyed his 12 brothers' sarcophagi, he still had to face the final survivor, Prima, who tricked him into running out of power and then used the remaining power in the Dynasty's corpses to imprison the Fallen in his own sarcophagus. The last Prime then built a tomb for the Matrix out of the corpses and sacrificed himself to close it. Knowledge of the 13 faded, and the Dynasty of Primes became little more than a myth. Thousands of years later, the Science Division discovered the Fallen sarcophagus and the remains of the other 12 sarcophagi. As the Fallen influenced Lord High Protector Megatron, the members of the Science Division, under the direction of their leader Optimus Prime, studied the remains of the other relics and discovered the symbol of the Primes. This was the first proof that they had found of the Dynasty, and what's more, the symbol was etched on the head of the Science Division's leader, who was soon dubbed Optimus Prime by his fellow scientists. After the Autobots refused to follow Megatron's Decepticons, the term Prime came to denote Optimus as leader of the Autobots. The second version was introduced in IDW Publishing's Generation 1 comic continuity, which would introduce the Guiding Hand, 5 ancient deities created by Primus. They are featured in one of the more prominent myths regarding the creation of the planet Cybertron and its native people. Members included, Primus, the Light Giver and Life Giver, Mortalus, the Deathbringer, Salomus, Wisdom Incarnate, Epistmus, Knowledge Personified and Adaptus, Blessed with an infinity of shapes. According to a religious story related by Cyclonus, the Guiding Hand were formed after the creation of the planet Cybertron when Primus the First Light stood forth on the Miracle Planet. At the time, he felt a nest of sparks within him and he split his essence into 5 other vessels. They became a remote but nurturing presence on early Cybertron and populated it with a gesture, thus creating the Transformer race. Under their reign came the first golden age of Cybertron, which was shattered when Mortalus believed that the Guiding Hand should become a fist against the rest of the universe. As Mortalus stood against Primus, all of Cybertron became divided in a conflict that saw the planet shudder and its first moon being ripped asunder. The Deathbringer was ultimately destroyed in the struggle, but the conflict left the remaining members of the Guiding Hand mortally wounded. In Beast Wars, Reborn, a text story set after the events of Beast Machines, a new character known as Logos Prime was introduced. Abducting Optimus Primal and Megatron, he let them wander his temple in the hopes that one of them would prove a worthy successor to his power. He was subsequently confronted by the arriving Vector Prime, who recognized Logos as a former comrade. Members, artifacts of the Primes, known referenced artifacts of the 13 include, media appearances. In the Revenge of the Fallen film, there were only 7 Primes who were the first wielders of the Matrix and used it to power a sun harvester. After learning that Earth contained intelligent life, they refused to use it and the Fallen fought them over it. He was too powerful for them in battle, so they stole it from him and sacrificed themselves to hide it. In present day, Sam Witwicky found the Matrix, but it crumbled to dust in his hands. However, in a vision, the Dynasty gave it to him to wield as he proved worthy of it, telling him that the Matrix is something that must be earned, not found. After being revived, Sam used it to resurrect Optimus, but the Fallen took it before it completely healed Optimus and used to power the Sun Harvester. After being powered up by Jetfire, Optimus kills the Fallen and destroys the Harvester. In Dark of the Moon, the Matrix made a reappearance when it was used to revive Sentinel Prime. Optimus later offers Sentinel the Matrix as he was, during the war, the rightful leader of the Autobots, and asks him to lead them again. Sentinel, however, declines and returns Optimus the Matrix, stating that in a new world he knows nothing of. Optimus is now his teacher. The 13 appear in a flashback in the Prime episode One Shall Rise, Part 1, with various members of the group being mentioned in later or earlier episodes such as the Fallen Megatron Prime, Solus Prime and Alpha Trion, who would later make a number of appearances in Seasons 2 and 3. See also, Matrix of Leadership, List of Autobots, Prime, List of Primes and Matrix Holders, References. External links, The 13 at tfwiki.net, The Transformers Wiki.